Lots of people have many reasons why they're nervous to start a business. What I want to do in this video is take you through some of the common reasons that people are reluctant or nervous to get started. So the first reason is the general state of the economy. Now, the economies around the world have all taken a massive hit this year because of coronavirus and COVID-19. Some countries are even in recession. But when you think about it, a down economy can actually be a benefit or an advantage to you. A lot of companies are having to reduce costs, which sadly means that they're having to reduce the headcounts in their companies. But a lot of that work does still need to be done. So you could go into business as a consultant where you're selling your time for money. Now, whilst consultants do generally charge a fairly high day rate, actually in the long run they're more cost effective than having someone full time. And it also works really well for freelancing. So if you're, say, a graphic designer or a video editor or anything like that, being a freelancer is actually a really good place to be during an economic downturn, because you're paid to do a specific job, and then once that transaction's ended, you both go your own ways. So don't let the economy or the state of the economy be a way of talking yourself out of starting a business. The next reason why people are sometimes scared to start a business is that they feel like an imposter. So there's a common syndrome called imposter syndrome, and everyone suffers from it, including myself. And this is where you think to yourself that I'm not good enough to do this. There's plenty of other people out there that are better at doing whatever it is you're going to do as a business. So I feel like a fraud. What if someone finds me out? This is very common. It's a very sort of natural human way to think. But really you need to think, look critically at your skills. If you have some skills that you've been doing in the workplace, or that's something you might do as a hobby or an interest, if it's something that you're genuinely good at and passionate about, your skills are incredibly valuable. So don't do yourself a disservice. As I said, imposter syndrome is very common, but everyone feels it and everyone has those same feelings. You need to kind of help push yourself through feeling like an imposter, then kind of embrace your full set of skills. The next reason why someone might be reluctant to start a business is around personal or business debt. So if you have a lot of personal debts that you might have built up over the years, say credit cards, loans, mortgage, car loans, all that sort of thing, the thought of taking or leaving what was a full-time career and then going into your own job can feel like a very risky thing to do, because you have all these debts and you have no way of knowing whether you're going to be able to earn enough money to basically make your debt payments. Another angle to this is that people might think that to start their business they need to take out a big personal loan or a big business loan to be able to fund the business. Now, I can't tell you a definitive answer about what the right thing to do is here, but it is something you do need to look at. For myself, I'm very risk adverse, so me and my wife spent a long time really cutting back on everything that we used to do, and we cleared a lot of our debts kind of before I even thought about going into business. Because we hate debt. I hate credit cards, I do not like loans. So for me, getting rid of any debts from when I was a student was actually quite a high priority. But everyone's attitude to debt is different, and it is something you do need to put a lot of thought into before you make the plunge to start a business. But there is a way around it, and we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Another worry which some people have about forming a business is that if you leave or consider leaving a job with a good salary, you're also giving up potential company benefits. So you might have a pension fund that you contribute to, you might have health and dental cover. All of those things are really valuable, especially if you're a family, so if you have children. Good medical cover is very important. And it is something that you need to bear in mind when you do start up a business. So if you ever do take that plunge to go into business full time, are you going to be able to replace some of those benefits or keep them going? But I wouldn't let it be too debilitating. So for myself, my wife has a very good cover through her job, and she added me onto it when I started up my business and went full time. And then after about 6 months of running the business, I then had to start thinking about what I was going to do about my pension. So I actually set up one of these newer online pension funds, transferred a lot of my existing pensions into it because I had a lot of pensions just sitting around. It took quite a bit of tracking down to get all the details. But now I have everything in one place, and then as the director of my business I can decide how much I pay into it and when. So it's a good level of flexibility to have. Another worry that people generally have is around their family obligations. So if you're thinking of starting a business, you might well be thinking to yourself, well, I have a wife or husband or partner, I have children, cat, dog, mortgage. these kind of general family obligations that everyone seems to have. And by making such a radical change to your life by starting a business, it's very natural that it will make you start worrying and thinking about, what's going to happen if something goes wrong, or if you can't get the orders in or make the sales. Again, everyone worries about this. I certainly did. It was something that played on my mind massively when I started a business. But there is ways to lessen the risks, and we'll talk about that in a moment. The final fear I want to talk about, and all of the fears we've kind of discussed, kind of all culminate into this one sort of final fear, and that's a fear of failure. So you could be very nervous about the idea that you have this brilliant idea which you think is amazing, but what if you just can't get any traction with it? What if you can't make any sales or any orders? If you're doing consulting or freelancing, just what if you can't get people to buy your services? And the fear of failure really can be crippling, but realistically you're not going to know if you're going to fail until you try. Because just by not trying, you could class that as a failure. So if you want to get rid of that first failure scenario, then you need to sort of make that step to get started. Now, all of these fears that I've talked about are all things that I felt myself. Some worse than others, but I've gone through the whole gamut of these particular worries. And the way I resolved this is that I set my business up as a little part-time kind of hobby business on the side. There's no rule or written down rule that you have to go into business and run it full-time from the start. You don't have to hire the big office, you don't have to seek funding, you don't have to hire lots of staff. You can just create this business on the side. Now, the common term on the internet these days is a side hustle, and that's kind of a good word. So you're taking a business idea, something that you're passionate about, and you're working on it as a hobby on the side. So you're still working for your employer, you're still earning your salary, you're still getting your benefits. But by building something up on the side in a small fashion first, if something goes wrong with it, it will hurt for a little bit, but it won't be too detrimental that you can't just try again later. That's one of the things we're going to focus on quite a bit in this YouTube channel, is actually how you build things up or how you build businesses up on the side. Because that's exactly what I did. So I produced lots of training courses online, and for about the first 4 years of doing that, this was something that I worked on in the evenings. Now, it did take up quite a lot of my own time in the evenings doing this, and my wife was very good about it because we could see that there was definite benefit to this. But I didn't commit to going full time on this for about 4 years until I could, kind of roughly start predicting what I was going to bring in each month and know that I had a safety net of money saved up. So it really is the answer to all your fears, is that you don't have to do this full time straight away. You can start very gradually as a side hustle. And you can either do it as a side hustle for a few years and then decide to make the jump to go full time. Or you might decide that, I quite like running a side hustle, but I also really enjoy my day job, and you keep your day job going as well. So I hope just by talking through some of these fears, and as I said, I've experienced all of these, some of them more paralysing than others, but you don't have to commit full time to doing your business. You can just run it on the side and take it very gently. So if you like this video, I'll be very grateful if you could hit the like button. Leave a comment, so do you run a side hustle? Is this something you do already? Or have you made the jump to go full time? If you have, please share your stories. I love hearing about what people are doing. If you'd like to hear more, and I've got a whole spectrum of really cool videos planned for you, so if you want to hear more, please hit that subscribe button, and also consider ringing that little bell as well, which means you'll be notified when I release new videos. So with that, thank you, and I'll see you next time.